Hello, it's Brad Laurie, your BlockchainBrad, and today, once again, I'm speaking with the CEO of LTO Network. His name is Rick Schmitz, and he's here to explain all the updates of LTO today, 2019. Thank you, Rick, for being here.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Really well, mate. And once again, thank you for your time. I know it's very late over there. But Rick, the idea of this is obviously to update all of us on all of the work that you and your team have been doing and to inform us on the developments, the team, the tech, and beyond that. So once again, thank you for making time to allow us to have this free discussion. It's entirely about education. Rick, the hybrid blockchain, that's one thing you stand for, all about business, B2B. Mate, can you just give us a quick update on and a rundown on how things are going at LTO Network?
Yeah, definitely, Brad. So last time we spoke, I think we just launched mainnet. I think that's back in January already.
Right.
Just after our token sale, right? So we were starting off with only a couple of transactions back then. And we've been seeing that increase by 30% month on month, passing 35,000 transactions per day on the network. And we're going to pass through 1 million per month for this December. So that has been incredible growth. And yeah, the network has been growing. The number of clients that are using it has been growing really fast. And we shifted kind of a model. So what is funny that you learn every time you try something, you learn. And for me, the biggest learning was if you're in the B2B space, it's really hard to educate your clients because it will take time to show them the value of implementing blockchain into their systems and the benefits they gain from a data efficiency sharing, basically immutability. What does that mean for them? And why should you run a process decentralized between 2 or 3 or 10 companies? So the educational part, we are leaving that now to integrators that have a relationship with these clients. So that means less revenues for us, but much more opportunity to gain much more clients indirectly via these integrators. In this approach, we have been executing that since, I think, July, and that has been working out really good. Then we saw the traction going really, really well.
And Rick, on that note, let's talk about the importance of B2B, the importance of revenue. We see very few really evidencing the ability to, through an audit, show that they are making money. When we spoke last, you already were doing that. But how important is it, firstly, to have that proof, and how are things going for LTO on that front?
Yeah. Funny question. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. If you have a product market fit, then people are willing, or companies are willing to pay for your solution. And that should always be the case, because otherwise you will deplete your funds someday, right? You cannot spend your token and the money you collected from selling it forever. Right. If you don't make revenues in the long run, you're doomed to fail. So we've been looking for that product market fit from the start. We only launched mainnet when we knew, wow, we have a product market fit where people are willing to pay for. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing that, and we've been increasingly changing stuff and building things on top of that in order to generate those revenues. Yes, of course, you can use free tech. Here it is. You can download a node and start playing with it. But if you want to have an SLA, if you want to have the latest version, if you want to have automatic scaling, if you want to have search and indexing, that's great, but you need to get an enterprise license. And yes, you need to pay for that. And we are not selling those enterprise licenses. No, your integrators are selling those. And they are making revenues from selling that as well. They're getting a kickback fee on that. And they get the money from the implementation of the clients, where we get a little kickback on. So that's basically creating an ecosystem where everybody makes money on your product. And yeah, I think that has been a great move. And yeah, we are going to close the year with profit. Not a big profit, but we're closing the year with a profit. So yeah, really proud of that, making break even in a year.
And that's exciting, because when we spoke last, you had just started that move, into proof of revenue, and now, moving into that space of breaking even. I'd imagine in the future you have clear revenue targets as you increase, the clients in your ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're aiming to go for $1.5 million next year,
Mhm.
and yeah, that seems a reasonable target. And the team is working really hard to get to there, and well, releasing new products along the line, of which 2 are launching this December. So yeah, really excited.
Right. Well, we're certainly going to be talking about some of those things in the interview as well, Rick, with regard to your innovation technologically and the products. But just moving on, I want to talk a bit more about the sort of the backstory of LTO to get up to speed for those who may not know. Now, in 2014-15, you're playing with the idea, of establishing some sort of decentralized marketplace, but didn't really happen until the big boom of 2017 when you really broke in to sort of made it your way into the ranks with trying to bring decentralized BaaS systems to the fore. What's your view on enterprise, on BaaS as a blockchain as a service today? Do you think that's the primary point of value, or the primary value proposition and use case for blockchain today, given that you are one?
Yeah, so blockchain as a service, we have been seeing this from parties like Amazon, where you basically have a blockchain being hosted by a big cloud provider. I honestly don't think that's a good idea, because I think that working on whatever system you use, and if you're in the cloud on Amazon, or if you're working on Google Cloud or Alibaba Cloud, or even on premise, you should be able to use the ability of blockchain. And having a blockchain hosted by a single party, well, that's not really decentralized, in my opinion. So for enterprises, they are looking for something easy to use, and integrators are selling them whatever they get the biggest margin on, right? And where they make the most money off. So it should be easy for them to make a sale with a product, and it should be and they should be able to get returns from it. And if you have that figured out, then I think our solution is a little different than your average BaaS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can make a BaaS out of it if you would like, as an integrator. But no, I don't see the BaaS flying really hard. I don't know a lot of enterprises that are using it, to be honest. But yeah, let's see where the space goes. It's still early days, and I don't think that more than 1 or 2% of the world businesses are using blockchain in production right now.
Okay. Now, in your context, you've always talked about breaking the silos down, and you talk about those integrators. So let's clarify from you as the CEO of LTO, what's the primary function and goal of LTO as a service then, when we talk about revenue generation and integrating with the broader space, in the mainstream space, so that we can understand the distinctions between the BaaS and really what you're trying to achieve as you broaden the LTO network and break down those silos that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, so basically, if you're working in companies and they need to run processes between multiple stakeholders, and a repetitive process between governments and companies and private public collaborations, everybody's using different systems. Data is piling up in these silos, right? And people are sending each other emails and faxes and keeping each other up to date through telephone calls. And it's very inefficient, because every administrative task is repetitively done for 3, 4, maybe 10 times when there are 10 companies involved in it. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we created a simple layer to have a workflow being decentralized through the parties that are involved on a process. And every time you're involved in that, you get dispatched the data securely to your systems. And everybody who makes a submission with his system signs the data. So he's responsible. So you know who to blame when there's a mistake, an error, or maybe a falsification on it. So that makes it trusted for everybody involved, without having to move to a centralized system where everybody needs to agree upon. And the cool thing is that you can start centralized And if you have it figured out and you have it all connected to the node, you're able to invite people or businesses that collaborate with you. And they can participate through your node, or they can set up their own node and start participating through their systems via that node communicating, so that both parties can benefit from the efficiency. So it is a little more different than your average consortium chain. It's basically a consortium in a box, where you can expand the consortium as big as you want, because it works on invitation.
Right.
And there's no central party that needs to say, okay, you're now welcome to the consortium, because that is still, like, if you agree on everything with everybody in a consortium from the beginning, why not make a centralized database that's much more efficient? Blockchain is a pain in the ass, Brad.
And Rick, that's why I've always found it interesting talking to you, because you never discounted the importance of the centralized entities prior or pre-blockchain and pre, this crypto revolution we see with tokenized economies emerging. And in fact, you often saw the importance of trying to enable more communication and intercommunication between these entities. And thus the technology and the software becomes so important. Now, in terms of China, I want to talk about that for a moment, because right now there's a big push for B2B in that sector. Are you moving? Is your attention shifting anyway, or are you trying to be more inclusive of the kind of movement that's happening there and the pro-blockchain stance that they have?
Yeah, definitely, Brad. As you said, the Chinese government issued a statement that they're going to enable blockchain and embrace it in companies, because the true efficiency of blockchain is basically there, right? Like exchanging data in a secure way, and making sure you collaborate on stuff so that you don't need to fill in stuff twice or three times. So people see that, and the realization comes, and that statement of China was like the cherry on the pie for us, because we have it like plug and play ready. So we were working hard to find somebody who understands the space in China, and we found somebody who worked with our tech, and who's also a great Dutch speaker, and he's a Chinese native. So so we got him on board on the team, and we translated our website in Chinese. And now planning a roadshow in January, and hopefully next time I speak to you, announcing a really, really, really big cool client.
Well, Rick, I would love to have an interview with you in China. I'm imagining that you or your team are going to be going there at some stage to do more of this B2B sort of business planning, and obviously with core tech that you have. Are you finding already that this gateway through this new team member is opening up substantially more business opportunity that you hadn't imagined possible before?
Yeah, I think that the Chinese really appreciate the fact that you are bringing somebody native to the table, because communication is still a big hurdle for many Chinese. They love to have let's say a deck with your proposition in Chinese rather than in English.
Right.
And if you can bring that to the table, we've seen that it's been taken much more seriously, because we are making a presentation in Chinese, and that is valued a lot more than doing that in English. So then they know you're serious about moving to China, and that it's not a promise you cannot deliver. We in collaboration with ScanTrust, that is also having an office in Shanghai. We're positioning ourselves as an integration that works for track and trace products that are already being done through ScanTrust applications.
So, well, it sounds like a lot of revenue. There's a lot of revenue potential in that market, because it's probably the biggest market for blockchain for 2020 and beyond at this stage, given that jurisdiction sort of challenges and hindrances exist in other parts of the world, and because they're quite progressive in China right now. And they're very much business geared. I think that's important to acknowledge as well, Rick, is that they may not necessarily be pro-crypto, but when it comes to software, when it comes to technology, they're looking for LTO-like solutions. So you must be optimistic about the future of your growth. as you move forward?
Yeah, what I think is the big difference between China and Western Europe, and America also, because we have clients there as well, is that things move much faster into, like, if it goes into production in China, the number of transactions are like immediately 20 times that it could ever be in Europe. So like and adoption happens just much faster of technology there. There's still revenues to be made in Europe, but those are mainly on pilot project, the Horizon 2020 pitches you need to do. And all these subsidies you get, like, okay, that's great, it's all one-off revenues. It doesn't bring recurring revenues on your network, and that's what you want to have, like selling your licenses and having your product used by a big base of clients. And I see much more potential in China than anywhere else in the world right now.
Right. So obviously mass adoption, that's the focus for you. And the milestones are happening. You've mentioned the roadmaps on target right now to get there. And let's talk about the tech updates, because for you to have that sustained growth in the business world, you need to make sure that the tech is constantly being tweaked and improved. So in your functional layers, with the focus of the dApps, the distributed data processing and blockchain as well, how's everything going to make sure that you have cutting edge software, cutting edge tech to lead the way, Rick?
Yeah, so I think it's important to have as many as plug and play elements to your blockchain. What we have done, we have partnered with Unchain, which is basically a connector box to all these off-chain applications which are used by big businesses. So you have a workflow, but this workflow is being communicated, and like on this workflow, the communication happens from the SAP systems, from the IBM systems, from the Salesforce kind of systems. But you need connectors in order to exchange the data, right? So we were saying, okay, let's make sure we have as many as connectors as possible, so that you are ready to set up blockchain basically out of a box, where you just need to integrate the connectors in your system, and that's it. So you need to say, okay, these data points we're going to exchange through an API, and these are not. So that has been the focus, to make it as good as possible for integrators to be used. Also, functions like search and indexing, making sure that your fabric scales on a big load and stuff like that. Things in the enterprise licenses where people are willing to pay for, right? That's not a freemium model, but that's a paid model. And then products to get more adoption and more attention. Like that's Proofi, which is going to be introduced on the 1st of December, which is basically as simple as possible, like the simplest solution you can ever think of. Nobody ever made it. Like, it's like basically fluid contracting. It is, you use DocuSign probably, right? If you want to sign a contract, but people are like, in crypto, people are sending each other like lines through Telegram and making promises through Telegram and sending each other emails. Like, contracting is becoming less and less and less important in the new generation. So we said, we need something fluidly also to sign with. So what we said, what is the most important thing in a signature? Basically, that you know that the one you're dealing with is legit. And if he's legit, he needs to be authorized to do so, right? So what we did is we created a plugin. We're releasing that for G Suite, Gmail, and all the Google applications, where it basically directly checks if Brad Laurie is Brad Laurie, and if you're and that you're allowed to act on behalf of your company,
right?
So that if we're doing business and you're sending me an email with a proposal and I'm accepting that, you're basically signing that email, or you're signing your video that Brad Laurie has uploaded it.
It's basically an authenticity stamp. It's improving more of the security of your whole network, because it embeds more trust. Despite trustless mechanisms, we need trust.
Yeah, it's basically Internet of Trust. So it's like it's the front runner of SSI, because SSI is far away, right?
Right.
That won't happen in the next 10 years, in my opinion. And then there's not going to be one SSI standards. There are going to be many. But what you want now, what you can do today, is we can verify you, Brad Laurie. We know if we know who you are, you're able to get a key to sign stuff with, and then I can trust that you have signed it and you're authorized to do so.
Right.
You can restrict, and you can like restrict certain type of transaction. Let's say Brad Laurie is not authorized to pay an invoice on behalf of my company, but he's able to make and send a video out on behalf of my company.
So essentially you can customize based on this new verification system. And that's going to be really important as you globalize as well, because, you know, that example you had of China, given some of those language barriers, just for an example, and now you're breaking those down with having new team members, but just making this seamless, making processes easy for verification. Yeah. I think that's going to be really big and important for you as you move in with these big partners you mentioned. But let's talk about that a bit, Rick, because you alluded to something really interesting, and I should have dug deep then. Let's do that now. Now, you're talking about some big stuff coming. Give us a bit more, you know, feed us some information that, you know, you can disclose to sort of like, I guess, entice us, you know, towards 2020 as you start to really showcase what you're doing.
We can, Brad. Like, on the 10th of December, our biggest project we worked on is going live. That is with the Dutch ISO that's called NEN. And NEN basically has appointed about 20 or 25 parties that are able to certify. Deloitte, Capgemini, Kiwa, all these kinds of parties that are able to issue certificates to companies. So we're talking about thousands of certificates on a yearly basis being issued by these certification parties. And they use a system now, which is fully centralized. All the certificates are there. You can go to the register and check out as a consumer. If you're walking into daycare and you see the certificate on the wall, you need to check. You can check it in the register manually, and whether it's still valid is on the certificate. What they're doing now, they're going to replace everything. They're going to put a QR code on it only. You don't see if it's valid or not. You have to like they want to push the customers to be like the police and the control mechanism of all these certificate holders, because these are getting falsified a lot. These are getting and they don't renew the dates or just change it. And having the people as a control mechanism, they want to basically get the Netherlands more safe so that everybody is being certified and that those things are not being copied and just put on websites and in daycares and stuff like that.
I see.
So basically making the world more safe.
Got it. And now, sorry, go ahead.
So basically we are providing that solution in collaboration with two other parties. And that's one of the biggest projects so far. And obviously it's being paid. That's the most important thing.
Well, that is the most important, and also the magnitude of some of these partnerships, Rick. I'm looking forward to seeing even more of them come through. You know, not because of FOMO, not because of hype, but just because when we speak, we're talking about real business, and we need more of those discussions, I think, in the blockchain arena to validate its future. Now, real use case is another thing we don't see enough evidence of. You clearly, you know, are looking at specific verticals, B2B, the more general and overarching point of value. But can we talk a little bit more about specific verticals where you think that perhaps the LTO is best suited within the business frame, so we can even go deeper beyond just business itself and B2B and understand where you're best suited in, I guess, these real use case examples?
Yeah, so I think like in general, supply chain is still like a really good use case because it's multiple stakeholders involved. They need to collaborate and they are not always trusted. And when you're shipping goods, the insurance company needs to be involved because you need to basically insure the goods that are shipped. That responsibility needs to be transferred. So there's a whole ecosystem around the supply chain where you can add value with blockchain. That's super clear. I think that space will keep on growing.
Right.
Then the authenticity of products, super important. Our collaboration with ScanTrust was one of the best ones so far. We're doing now 4 or 5 projects with these guys, all on authenticity basis. Like, it doesn't matter whether products, whether that's diamonds, whether that's whatever you can think of, a product which has a high value, and where falsification is a real issue. Louis Vuitton bags is really important, right? Or making sure you have baby powder from actual, basically Netherlands is known for our baby powder being shipped to China a lot.
Okay.
And there was a big scandal with baby powder there a couple of years ago. And babies were fed wrong baby powder and dying of it. Oh. And those were falsified ones that they thought that were coming from the Netherlands. So those kinds of things, whether it endangers health.
So having that traceability, Rick, is what you're referring to. So you can track the line of supply is going to be so valuable.
Yeah, and also check whether in that process, like let's say you're shipping milk, you want to know that the milk has been cooled always below, let's say, 5 degrees.
Right.
Those kinds of things, like connecting IoT sensors to blockchain, so that there's no possibility to manipulate anymore. Exactly,
and also doing it in a seamless fashion, because that's the other thing about the blockchain is that it makes it more expedient and more efficient. And once again, having that transparency available and that traceability, more importantly, it's going to potentially change the game when it comes to supply chain businesses. And we're seeing that emerge now with other startups with their revenue growth. We're seeing that in the US with some of the chains you'd know of, and even in Europe. So it's exciting times perhaps for some of those platforms starting to, play around with the potential of supply chain.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So that's one of the key verticals. Now, I read some information that and you also alluded to this, you're changing strategies somewhat, as you move to a bigger market share. New products, new nodes, new project launching, marketplace launching. Let's talk about those things, because, that's part of the wave of change that you're bringing to the blockchain and to the crypto space.
Yeah. To start off with the marketplace, we're going to release at the end of this year. Mm-hmm. If a client asks for a solution, it's kind of hard right now, because you'll get somebody who makes a functional design, start saying, okay, how we're going to solve the problem, etc. And then they're going to start from scratch, always. Like, integrators just start on building something. But if you give them a marketplace where they can take the bits and pieces out that you need, you can deliver for, let's say, 10 times cheaper than you've quoted to build it from scratch. I want to make the marketplace like Zapier. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept.
I know of it, yes.
You can build workflows on the fly. Like, okay, I'm taking this component, that component, and I'm connecting those to my systems, and then it works. That should be the same with blockchain. Why is that not in the blockchain space? Why is this technique so hard? It is not so hard. There's just not much integrated yet, but that's where we're working on. Every new application that made an integration with us has a special place in the marketplace, and these pre-cooked integrations can be combined and used by other integrators at their clients. So basically, everybody who's in it benefits from it. So I think that's like feeding the ecosystem and making sure that everybody who joins it gets a part and piece of the traction.
Right, and it's going to be important to see that unfold in a reasonably seamless fashion with, as you start to obviously couple that with the B2B scenario that you're building. What about the infrastructure in terms of the nodes? Because my understanding is you're increasing that. You're becoming more and more distributed as each time we speak.
Yeah, so basically transactions and number of nodes running, that is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. I always want to see as many as active nodes as possible, because validators are super great. They're important for stability and security of the network. but your best nodes are obviously your integrators that are running it, or your clients that your integrators had set up, and where the transactions come from. Because if you the more transactions you get from a wider audience, the better, and the more healthy your network is. And basically, we're growing to 1 million transactions in December, and yeah, I foresee much more in 2020, and yeah, well, let's see how it goes. But yeah, I have a positive outlook actually.
Well, that's good to know. And also, some of the key points you stand for, Rick, are things like cost efficiency, automation, compliance. They're some of the reasons why essentially you started to build this network. But I wanted to move across quickly to the token itself. Now, a lot of CEOs don't like talking about this, but I'd love to hear from you about, once again, as you move to 2020, you're starting to produce revenue substantially now. How do you sort of frame the utility token? How do you explain the value of that in the context of what you're doing, given that so many people supported you guys to build the infrastructure to emerge as a quality startup?
So I don't mind talking about the token, obviously, because that's an important part of the project. The token is really important. So every transaction is coupled with the token because you need to pay for a transaction.
Right.
If the price goes up, everybody's happy because there are a lot of people in for speculative reasons.
Sure.
But what you see is the speculators are becoming, well, less important because we have seen stability since, I think, July in our token price. And you see the integrators basically holding it, and people are evaluating the network and say, okay, I just want to be part of it. They keep on holding it, and they're benefiting from the returns they get out of the network. Our current revenue, our current ROI for people who are staking in the mainnet network is approximately 7%. And with the transactions increasing and us making our targets with these transactions, people are staying in mainnet because where else do you get 7% interest on your investments? Well, not in the banks in the Netherlands. So I think,
likewise here.
yeah, like we're basically you get no interest anymore here.
Right.
But so people are saying, okay, I'm going to hold this. I believe in the product. I believe in the network. So you get price stability, and I think well, that's a good thing because then it also becomes predictable for people who are joining the network. And like in the phase when we were like basically shoot up in the sky to 30 cents, the transaction price was becoming too high for
business.
A lot of clients and for business saying, whoa, if I need to buy into the network now, it's pretty expensive.
Rick, I'm so glad we're talking about this because really what you're suggesting here is that it's moving more into that true scenario of a utility token because it's less sexy perhaps to the speculator, but more relevant to those who actually want to use it for its intent, the actual design of it being a utility token. But what in the context though of the speculative sort of investor today? If we look at the price from June, for example, 2019 to today, there's a significant decline in the value, just looking at that from an exchange perspective, for someone just wanting to jump in and speculate. Now, how would you address that issue of vastly, highly volatile shifts in price, whether they be up or down? Do you advocate more for use of a less volatile asset for business and B2B use cases, or do you encourage or do you espouse significant volatility as we've seen in the past, even with LTO?
Yeah, so volatility always happens when people are like, okay, this is the next big wave coming up, right? So speculators jump into a project to make money out of it on a short-term ride, and that's all fine by me. I don't have any opinion about that. But a price stability for people who are going to use the network is much more beneficial. So they have another angle to look at it, right? So they benefit when the price stays at a certain price, because then they can predict, like, okay, if I have 1 million transactions a year, this will cost me 0.25 LTO for one transaction, that means that I need to buy for 10K of LTO yearly. So I need to predict. I have predictable costs if this price stays the same. So, so it's looking at two different angles from it. So
sure. And that's always the challenge. You know, you as a CEO, you represent not only the complexities of the crypto convolution and the speculative space that we have, but you also represent real business behind the scenes with regard to real revenue, real clients. Now, let's talk exchanges for a second, crypto exchanges, because, you know, despite the B2B scenario, we see, again, speculation enabled through these exchanges. Now, your 24-hour daily trade volumes are, you know, they are what they are, but for the most part, BitMax is doing a lot of the volume, and then we see Hotbit and a few others, you know, outside of that. What's your thoughts on exchanges? What are your thoughts on perhaps expanding the opportunities for engagement in the, I guess, the exchange arena of crypto? Are you planning on having increasing liquidity options, increasing exchange options for LTO?
Yeah, definitely. So our exchange strategy for this and the next year is making a broader liquidity providing pool than currently. So yeah, we're gonna add new providers to it. And why is that important? It's not only to basically give what the speculators really like to see. For us, it's also a way to enter new jurisdictions, because what is a really good thing about speculators is that they're able to help and get traction also. And basically, we got so many leads, clients, and introductions to parties we wanted to talk to our community members. And if your speculators are helping you out in the community, they become basically like a decentralized workforce, which is super great.
Right.
And some people like to trade only on a certain exchange. And if there's a large group where you want to enter a market, then it's important to also collaborate with that exchange. So yeah, you will see us moving to jurisdictions and exchanges that are representative in that jurisdiction.
I see. And given, can I speculate if that's okay? Given that you're moving towards China, I suspect also, Rick, that you're going to be also looking for kind of exchange partners in that Asian space. Is that fair to make that assumption?
That's definitely fair to make that assumption.
Okay. Now, one of the things I have noticed is that you've partnered or you work with consultants who really do know this space, Rick. They really understand the importance of aligning with the right kind of liquidity support, the right kind of media, and just the right kind of network. So looking, for example, at Dalmaker, looking at the CEO, Chris, I'm aware that you know him. How important is it to have consultants that support your ethos and help you build?
Yeah, so for me, it's really important to have, well, there are a couple of layers. I see it as an onion. Like you have your core layer of people that are in your team, your direct. You can basically tell them what to do every day, and they are really the core of your project. And then you have the one layer outside that are the members that are really engaged in your project and that are your integrator client. Your integrators bring you new clients. Those you should take care of really, really well always, because if they fall out, then your onion will become rotten.
Right.
And then you have your outer layer, which basically is everybody who's having some kind of involvement to your product. That can be a token holder, leasing tokens to a node on mainnet. That can be somebody who bought his first crypto through a trust wallet that becomes aware of LTO. It can be anybody. And that is like somebody who's speaking in the bar like, hey, I just bought my first LTO. You should take a look at this. So those are also important, like, because they will get you virality if you have enough of that outer onion layer. And all the layers you need to keep happy. You need to basically listen to them and make sure that everybody knows what to communicate to the outside world. And you can streamline that in a couple of ways. And Chris with this platform is one of the ways doing that.
I see. And the reason I ask is because, from my experience in this domain so far, you do need to have some of those collaborations to help you because you're so busy building the technology and building that all important business, and perhaps don't want to expend a lot of wasted energy on some of the crypto aspects, the crypto consultancy, and therefore outsource that to arguably better experts in that field. So it's good to know you do have that and you're cognizant of that aspect of the onion, as you say, in the many layers. Now, partners, companies like VID, Certic, and beyond, can we expect to see more of those kinds of partnerships as well? The inner crypto, announcements outside of B2B scenarios.
Yes, definitely, and also some unexpected ones. Yeah, I think like a partnership shouldn't be a partnership just for calling it a partnership. I think that's absolutely bullocks. And that's why we didn't do that a lot in the past. That was really popular in the beginning phase, like 2018. Like, whoa, this crypto project partnered with this crypto.
It was a shill strategy. Let's be real. It was a short-term strategy to gain attention. They may have been veritable or verifiable partnerships, Rick, but often they were superficial.
Yeah, like today, I did a small project today, which I like for an example, right? VID is one of our integrators, and I got a pretty cool assignment in from a National Geographic wildlife photographer.
Wow.
So he has 20 really cool wildlife photos, and he can only print 25 in a big format of those photos. So I said, okay, what we can do, we can print a QR code of Scantrust on it, and then we can issue the certificate which you get and the signature on that painting of authenticity of the photographer on a certificate being made on VID, being anchored in LTO Network. I said, it's so super simple, and we can deliver this in a day. And we basically built such a solution because we already have the integrations being done way back. We can deliver that in a couple of hours. And we did it because it was via a friend of mine for only, we only got a big photo out of it. But still, it shows how simple it is. And it shows the audience that is there, like, okay, this is how blockchain works, because there are so many people that have no clue how that even, like what is happening and why this is useful. So I think those are partnerships that are bringing value, and
it's a good example, you mentioned with National Geographic, because once again, Rick, that in the future people won't need to know about the blockchain, but they'll certainly be able to interact with that, perhaps not even knowing, or even for those who want to build their own businesses. Again, that efficiency and that productivity is going to be the reason they move into this sort of arena of business. And you're providing essentially the technology to enable that. You're that conduit to break down those silos and bring blockchain in, and even beyond that, obviously, because of the potentials of your tech and what it can do in the future. Now, just on one last, question, Rick, what's your sort of take on the future? It's difficult, I know, to ask this question, but given the evidence of your success so far, what do you see? What's the vision? What's the plan for 2020 specifically, so that the people who've invested, their time, their resources, and even their money in the pre-utility, can have confidence that you're moving forward and you're actually really building something for a sustainable future?
Yeah, so for me in 2020 is definitely focusing on more transactions of the network. So if we can have like 10 to 15% of overall network usage, that would be like super cool. So we will be focusing on more transactions, but the way we get them is going to be a little bit different than true integrators, because those projects for them take time also. And in order to get really fast traction, I think Proofi is going to be really a game changer, because that has built-in virality, because you can sign with your email. And every time you get an email, you're invited to check whether the Proofi is real, where you need to make an account as well. So we'll be working on the virality loop and make sure that we will get a lot of traction on that. And also Proofi has an API where, like, if you don't want to be bothered with an unstable token price, just start anchoring on the Proofi node, because we will make sure it's balanced, and you just pay a fiat amount of money, and we will make sure we take the tokens which are spent off the market of that fiat amount. So because that's a complaint which you hear a lot from basically from the NEN as well, saying, can we not just pay €1 or 2 per transaction? I said, yeah, obviously it's way less if you're running your own node. No, we're fine paying €2 per transaction.
Wow.
Well, yeah, so you see clients that don't want to be bothered with tokens because either they're not allowed to do so, or they don't know how to account for it. They just want a plug and play API where they can basically run their solution.
Right, and that's going to be key, because once again, the businesses just want to make it easy for themselves, and they need tech like yours to do it. And you, again, the buzzword really for you is integration. I think more so even perhaps than blockchain itself, because you're making it easy to make the transition and to make businesses relevant today by utilizing the blockchain easily. So obviously you're bullish for the future of blockchain. Clearly you're bullish on the moves that China making, and you're going to really endeavor to build a market share, a substantial market share, as you build out in 2020. What would you like to say, just as one final statement, Rick, for all those who have been there along this very wild ride that is crypto, and specifically with the LTO network? I think I lost you. Not sure what happened. Are you there, Rick? Seem to have lost Rick there. I'm not sure why. Are you there, Rick?
Wow.
I lost you.
That was my entire internet. Do you want to leave? No. Do you want to leave and join this one? Let me check what I need to do here. Wait up. Oh yeah, here you are.
I can see you now. You're on again.
Whoa. So, okay, that just dropped off.
Okay, so I'll just ask that question again, Rick.
Where were we? Which one?
Just a final statement we got up to, so I'll ask you that. Okay. So Rick, obviously there's so much going on for you. We've talked about quite a few different things. We focused on you building for the future. 2020 is a big year for you. China is important, in further integrations, increasing revenue. What would you like to say, Rick, to all those who have been there from the start for the LTO network, for those that really supported you in that pre-utility sense as you build forward, to give us confidence that you are here for the long term?
Yeah, definitely. So you'll be seeing much more transactions on the network, even with a rapider pace than before. You're going to see products where those where we build in the virality loop. So Proofi is one of them. I expect a lot of this product, because basically every time you receive an email or a message, you're able to check whether the Proofi is valid, and you sign up for that as well. So you create a bigger audience on your product, and every time you do something and interact with it, it's a new transaction. And that's another important angle to that is that Proofi also has its own API, which you can integrate in your day-to-day applications. So marketplaces like of tech data, or a marketplace of Mendix, and all those like low-code application builders. But setting up a node and connecting that to your applications is a hell of a lot of work. People don't want that. People want to pay fiat money, and they want it instantly. They want just having 2 or 3 API calls being done so that they can start. So it's all about integrations and making sure that you get more adoption in a smarter way. And blockchain is not the most important word for us. It is basically enabling technology and to make sure people can work more efficiency and gain benefit from more efficiency with our network.
Absolutely, Rick. You couldn't have said it better, really, with the fact that it is about trying to bring more businesses into your ecosystem. Your technology is about trying to make businesses more seamless, and it really is tech bringing mainstream business, into the new frame or the new revolution that is, I guess, enlivened by the blockchain and even other parts of technology beyond that. So I wish you all the very best, Rick, as you continue to build forward. What's exciting is you have real revenue. You are increasing that revenue. You're expanding in China. There's a lot going on for you. And for those who were those pre-utility supporters, obviously that's music to their ears, because they want to hear more proof that you're the real deal for the future. And from the sounds of what you're saying, you're really looking, really looking towards serious expansion with some big partnerships coming. So all the best, mate. And hopefully we can catch up again in December when you can tell us a bit more about some of these big partners.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much, Brad, for having me on the show.
You're very welcome, Rick, and all the best to your team.
All right.